When I first got into drugs, I was about 14, nearly 15. I went quite quickly from cannabis to pills, and then from pills to speed and coke, and then to ketamine and MDMA, and then to acid, but I never did like shrooms or heroin. Just, no.
Contrary to popular opinion, the majority of young people in this country do not use illegal drugs. In a 2008 survey of school children, 86% said they had never touched them. Most young people who do experiment with drugs recreationally tend to suffer no lasting effects, but there are those who find that their drug use causes long-term problems both for themselves and those around them. So what drives someone to take drugs and to possibly put their health, their education and their futures at risk? And what can be done to help them? We drew on the experiences of some young people who have been at the sharp end of drug taking to find some answers. Hannah was 14 and a hard-working, high-achieving student when she started smoking cannabis with school friends. Her drug use soon escalated into a serious dependency.
I was curious about drugs anyway, because at school it was like, drugs bad, don't do it, and gave us the names of the different drugs and what they did. I started off smoking spliffs with my friends, and then gradually it just sort of escalated to God knows what, to be honest, because you don't actually know what's in half the stuff these days.
Until it was the day
Hannah's close friend Kenya, who has never taken drugs of any kind, became deeply concerned about her erratic behaviour.
We were slightly naive at the time of the effects of drugs and stuff, but we knew at the time something was wrong and she needed us. Hannah's personality is very dominated as it is, but she became a bit more meaner and a bit more feisty. Most people were quite scared of me for how I looked, but also my attitude. One minute I could just be like the happiest thing in the world, and then the next I could be angry and screaming at someone from across the room because they'd done something to annoy me. I started parenting like almost instantly when I started year 10, and it went on for about 6 months and they just didn't notice. I think one of the reasons I didn't get caught is because I still did my work and got all my grades. Even if a student is probably the best student in the year, if they're taking drugs, then it is affecting their work. Eventually I got pulled into the welfare officer's office and they were like, right, you're signing this contract, and if you truant again, your mum's going to have to go to court and might have to pay a fine or go to jail. And I was like, well, fine, and just signed it.
I didn't know anything about them, you know. I'd heard names of drugs and things, but not actually what they did or how they affected people. You've got 2 exams, haven't you, coming up in January?
Mm-hmm. That's not going to be fun.
You've got to make sure you do some revision.
I was really quite angry and cranky whenever I was home or whenever I wasn't high. You go up and then you just pretty much crash down through the floor.
She'd be on a mega high 1 minute and really down in the dumps and quite depressed the next minute. There was no kind of balance at all. Later on along the line came self-harming, which was very difficult to kind of grasp as to why she would want to do something like that to herself. There had been a lot going on within the family because of breakdown of my marriage, and Hannah wouldn't let anyone get close to her. I was the big bad wolf and the cause of all her problems, you know.
Everything just built up, and I was put into counselling to fix things, but I sort of didn't want to. I wanted to sort of just escape.
One occasion we had a big Barney one day. It just got to the stage where if she had disobeyed me and gone off out and done what she was going to do, i.e. see her friends who were doing drugs and all of that, I was just ready to have her put into care because emotionally I couldn't take any more.
I'd come home and she was screaming and shouting at me, and then I screamed something back and she just slaps me around the face, and I was like completely shocked.
It's tough to say to your kids, no, I am not going to put up with this. You want to love them, but sometimes you almost have to make them hate you in their eyes. when you practice that tough love.
We like the EMA and such.
Hannah realised that it was up to her to do something about her drug use.
I was just like, right, yeah, my mum and everyone else is right. I'm going to die in like 6 months to a year if I'm not careful. So I just sort of, I just left that group of friends without even saying goodbye.
Hannah managed to pull back from the brink. With the support of her family and friends, she hasn't touched drugs for over a year.
It was an easy decision to make, but it was quite tricky to actually do because I was getting sort of withdrawal symptoms from the different things I took, because I took quite a lot of it, so my body just got used to it. It was quite horrible for a few months, sort of my moods were a bit everywhere. But when I actually got through that time of trying to stay clean, like, it was so good. I went to college and the first day someone said to me, oh, do you want to buy some pills? And I was like, no.
So what support services are there in the UK for someone who thinks they may be developing a problem with drugs or alcohol? Specialist substance misuse agencies are widely available for those who need them. Skilled workers provide support for young people whose addictions are causing serious problems in their lives. But how bad does it have to get before you realise you need help?
Tried cannabis for the first time in 2005. Didn't like it at first, but then it was a way to keep the hassle out of my life.
I got into drugs when I was about 14 years old. Mostly started at school, with a lot of people around me smoking weed and stuff like that.
At that time I was probably spending about £35 on just cannabis, nothing else. If my mum didn't have any money, it'd be through shoplifting and other ways.
Smoking weed was my starting drug, and I started to take other things like speed and ketamine and stuff like that, which are more serious. I remember it being one big adventure. Just wanted to kind of be the cool kid, if you know what I mean, and, you know, it wasn't the best idea ever. I had very low self-esteem. Wasn't happy with the way I looked, the way I spoke, everything. I just hated myself that much. I just didn't want to be me anymore, and I didn't have to be me. I could be this other person. I was taking drugs every day. I wanted to forget what I had to go home to. Which was like a war zone, really. It made my mental health a lot worse. It made my self-esteem a lot worse than what it was to even start with. I then became, no other way to describe it, a monster.
I was a violent person, nasty, thief. I just wanted to see how far I could get until I got into serious trouble. And obviously I did.
I spent a lot of time out, living in doorways and stuff like that. I was more out than I was at home then, because my mum was starting to get really angry with me.
Made the wrong choices, made wrong friends, didn't stay in school, got kicked out of 4 schools, and then just went all hectic from there, I suppose.
Living on the streets was scary. There was a lot of bad people out there that, wanted to take advantage of a 15-year-old girl. I sort of started to see things that I shouldn't have seen at the age that I saw them at, 15 years old. I was seeing people injecting heroin and stuff like that.
Got quite bad, getting arrested quite a few times. I was taking cannabis resin, doing speed bombs. I did pills at the time as well.
The rock bottom was when I was living in a doorway in the centre of Brighton, living out of one bag, and it was snowing. And there was just me, my friend, 2 cans of beer, and we were cold. We were cold and we were frightened. It wasn't fun anymore. And all I wanted to do was go home. But my mum, she was afraid of me. Let's put it bluntly, she was afraid of me by the end. I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost my mum. I lost my friends. Just everything you could possibly lose. I mean, you even lose your dignity because you just don't have any dignity left.
Some of my mates went to prison, and one of my mates died in a car accident in a stolen car. That's when I really thought about changing.
Hi, Nikki.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm alright, thanks, how are you?
Nikki's battle with her addictions was hugely aided by the special rapport she developed with Lucy, her substance misuse worker.
I met Nikki probably about 1.5 years ago, and at that time Nikki was using quite heavily, and she was a very different person to the one I know today.
She listened. You know, it was a lot to do with me feeling really down because of the stuff that had happened, and, you know, not wanting to feel that way. It was sort of dealing with the underlying problems first that would then lead on to staying off of drugs and alcohol.
And it wasn't Alco Pops you were drinking before, was it?
No, 70cl bottle of vodka.
That'll do it, that'll do mean.
Yeah, that'll make me mean. But she talks to you on a level. She doesn't talk to you like a child, but yet she doesn't talk to you like an adult, because I wasn't an adult, but yet I wasn't a child either.
How do you think you'll feel once you've stopped? Part of the route is trying to establish what it is that they don't like about their use, what it is that they do like, and see how we can change it so that they're getting what they like from it, from safer things or safer ways of using, and remove the things that they don't like about it.
It was this kind of support that helped Jack when he first came to Are You OK? With Maya, his worker, he mapped out a plan to help him overcome his substance misuse.
We did find some good ways of cutting down, like going to college and doing stuff I enjoyed, rather than not doing anything and being bored and smoking every day.
Finding an educational environment where he felt at home was crucial in turning Jack's life around. He discovered it at Plumpton College with the help of his tutor, Phil Hart.
Jack, do you want to come on in? There's some, it's a little bit more straw in here, needs shaking up with these calves, just to do that.
It was just a chance for fresh leaf, I suppose. Just make new friends, do what I want to do instead of do what I was pushed into doing. Freedom's everything, really. I hate being stuck in rooms, classrooms, whatever. I hate being stuck in my bedroom sometimes. I just love being out.
Lovely job.
Staff have been very helpful, especially my tutor. He's just outstanding, to be honest. One of the best people I've ever met.
Okay, all right. That's fine.
We know when people don't need us anymore, because they tell us, you know, they say, I'm out of space now where I feel I can manage this on my own, and that is, you know, that's a great moment because they're independent, they're in control, and it means I've done my job well because they feel equipped with the skills and the tools to manage any crises that may come up.
I hope I'm out of it. I hope I'm out of drugs. I hope I'm out of spending money on illegal substances. And that's one way I'll stop doing stupid things.
It feels amazing to be drug and alcohol free. Stupid things like watching the sun come up after not seeing it for, 18 months, 2 years, not seeing it, not knowing it, just things like that. Looking at myself in the mirror and going, actually, you look all right today, rather than wanting something else. It's all about being content with yourself, and if you can achieve that, I think you don't need anything else.
The future is bright. Really looking forward to the future. To owning thousands of acres of land and having loads of dairy cows, having loads of money, what I have to spend on drugs, and being free, having freedom.